All right, class. First off, as always, good day. I'm glad you're here. Today, we're going to finish off the basically what happened with the assassination of Abraham Lincoln. Now, remember, like I told you guys, a lot of people tend to forget that the assassination of Lincoln was just one part of the conspiracy. Okay, it was to kill other people as well. The main head of the Union government, okay, which included Lincoln, Vice President Johnson, Secretary of State Seward, and General Grant. Okay, so let's go ahead and look at the rest of the conspirators. All right, so here is the objective. The first one says analyze the possible reasons why Powell said what he said. So when we talk about him, when he was going to kill Secretary of State Seward, he said something in particular. We're going to analyze that. We're going to examine how the other assassin attempts went compared to the Lincoln assassination. And then we're going to create an argument on why Booth said what he said at the very end. He too said something um, at the end, and it caused still a little controversy. Like, what does he mean exactly? Nobody knows for sure. We're going to look at that, okay? All right, so here's your warm-up picture. The first question asks you to basically come up with 3 words, kind of like what we did with Lincoln, but now in reverse, but with Booth. First 3 words that pop in your head when you see this picture of Booth. What comes in your mind? Okay? Shouldn't be too hard, okay? But honestly, I mean, just right when you look at this picture, first 3 words that pop in your head about John Wilkes Booth, okay? The second question asks you kind of like a hypothetical, but still, just to give you some something to think about. Do you think in the future? Now, I don't mean next year, 5 years from now, but I'm talking later on, any time in the future. Do you think Booth will be seen differently? All right. So again, yeah, sorry if you noticed the background change. My girlfriend came home, so had to come into the pop room, as you guys can see. So again, do you think in the future, again, not just recent future, but deep future history, do you think people will see Booth differently, or is he always going to be Lincoln's killer? Okay, so tell me what you think. Right? Justify it. If you say yes, people are going to see him differently in the future. They might see him as more of the actor or a person who was misunderstood or whatever. Explain why you feel that way. If you feel the opposite way, that he will always be remembered as the man who killed Lincoln, you know, explain why do you feel that. Okay, so pause the video, write your response. Okay, because we're moving on in 3, 2, 1. All right. So here's a little fun history fact for you. This picture came from Lincoln's second inaugural address. For those of you guys who were in class last week, when I showed the movie Lincoln after the assassination, you saw him give a little speech at the end of the movie. That's from this second inaugural address. We know for a fact from notes and things like that, documentation, that Booth was actually there. Okay, now we know he's in that section. A lot of historians are kind of torn whether he is the one in the circle blue or is he the one in the circle red. But we know for a fact he was up there at that section during the second inaugural address. Okay, a little fun thing right there. He's right there. All right, so who are the people left on the list to kill? Secretary of State Seward, Vice President Johnson, and General Grant. Now, Lewis Powell and David Harold were going to be taking Secretary of State Seward. George Azeroth, which is the guy in the black and white picture, he was supposed to take Vice President Johnson, and Michael Laughlin, the guy in the colored picture, he was supposed to take General Grant. Okay. Now, Secretary of State Seward, Johnson, and Grant, at the time when Lincoln was basically about to be assassinated, they were either asleep or they're about to fall asleep. Okay. And the thing is, each of these guys, Lincoln, Seward, Johnson, and Grant, were all in different places. Now, it was imperative. The plan was it was imperative that they get each guy at the same time. Because just imagine this. Excuse me. If, let's say, Booth killed Lincoln at 9 o'clock instead of 10, right? An hour earlier, what would have happened to security around Seward, Johnson, and Grant? It would have jumped up, right? Because now it's like, hey, the president got killed. Now we got to protect these guys, just in case. So the best thing to do was to attack all of them at the same time. Okay. All right. So Secretary of State Seward, remember I told you from the last lesson, Lincoln asked him, hey, do you want to go to the play? He's like, dude, I'm suffering from a carriage accident. I can't go. Okay. Now, I'm sure you may have seen people, or even in movies, TV shows, so that they have a neck brace, the little thing that goes around the forehead, and like little rods that goes to the shoulders and things like that. And the person has to move kind of like this. That's what Secretary of State Seward was in. But the thing is with him, because again, back in the day, his was made of like pure metal, and it covered good part of the shoulders, the chest, and things like that. So it's a big, heavy thing that he had to carry around and walk around like this. Okay. Um, yeah, the carriage accident. He was an accident, and he did get hurt pretty bad. His neck was all messed up. So around 10 p.m., David Harold and Lewis Powell, they show up. Harold is in the little wagon, right? Lewis jumps off. He knocks on the door. The maid opens up, and Powell basically tells her, hey, I am from the doctor's office. I have some prescription pills for him, some painkillers, things like that. And the maid's like, oh, yeah, just come on in. So he's like, all right, cool. Got through the front door. As he makes his way up the stairs towards the room, he runs into Seward's son. And Seward's son stops him. He's like, hey, where are you going? He's like, oh, I have the medication for him from his doctor. And the son's like, no, we already have that. Who are you? And then all of a sudden, Powell clubs him with his gun, from like the butt of the gun, basically pistol whips him. Bah! Now remember, Powell is thin, tall, but he's extremely strong. Extremely strong. So when he clubs Seward's son in the head, he fractures the guy's skull, and he's actually ends up being in a coma for 60 days. That's how hard he hit him. Okay. So Powell's like, okay, the guy's out. So he makes his way to the room. He was not anticipating a bodyguard. That bodyguard name was George Robinson. Robinson sees Powell come through, and he just gets him. Now they're fighting for a bit, things like that, but then Powell gets out a knife, his Bowie knife to be specific, and cuts Robinson in the forehead. Okay, Robinson moves back, right? He's, got cut, and then Powell jumps on Seward, who's in bed, again, with the brace and things like that, and he starts stabbing down at him, and he's yelling at him, I'm mad, I'm mad, I'm mad, I'm mad. You have to remember, even now, the word mad has two meanings. One, mad, again, which you guys know is like anger, towards something, hey, I'm mad at this, or I'm mad at my girlfriend, my kid, things like that. You know about that. The other one you may not know about is the meaning is crazy. When someone says, oh, that person's mad, oh, he's simply mad. That means he's crazy. Okay. So which one is he talking about? No. And that comes to your next question. Why do you think Powell was shouting, "I'm mad," when he was attacking Secretary of State Seward? Okay, remember, nobody else is in the room besides him, um, Seward, and Robinson. And yet again, he's stabbing. I'm mad. I'm mad. I'm mad. What are some possible reasons why he would be saying that? Do you think he actually means like, I'm mad, I'm upset? Or like mad, like crazy? And why would he be saying that kind of stuff? Okay. So think about it for a second, right? Uh, write the response, okay? Because we're going to be moving on in 3, 2, 1. All right. So Seward is stabbed several times, okay? But the thing is, he's not actually like stabbed. It's because of that neck brace, that big old metal neck brace, that when Powell starts stabbing down, it kind of like metal on the knife. I don't know if you've ever seen like knives being sharpened, or like in movies when the knife hits another knife, like shh. That's basically what's happening, but Powell doesn't realize it. So Seward is not getting stabbed completely; he's more getting cut. So like the knife goes through, like hitting the metal, and it's cutting Powell. It's cutting Powell. It's cutting Powell. He gets little stab marks here and there, but nothing severe. No artery or no severe injuries like stabbing into the heart or things like that. None of that stuff. Right? He is cut a little bit, is stabbed a little bit, but nothing big. Okay. It's at this point that Robinson and two other guys basically jump on Powell, and they're trying to take him off. And they are trying their hardest, and they're pulling, and they finally get him off. Powell falls back, right, with the other three guys, right? All of them hit the ground at the same time. Powell then just boom pops up. He runs out the room, runs down the stairs, busts out the place, looks outside. Harold's gone. The guy he came in the wagon with is gone. And then they hear the noise, hey, help, help, the maid screaming, things like that, and boom, he's gone. He's running. He's like, okay, we went down this road. He's running down that road. We came down this road. He runs down that road. He's running. He's like, we, left or right, left or right. I'll go this way. And he starts running that way. This doesn't look familiar. I'll go this way. He's running around because he doesn't know his way around. And he takes the wrong routes that he came through, because they were all supposed to meet at the Navy Yard Bridge. Ends up happening is Powell ends up staying the night at the cemetery. He's so lost. He ends up being at a cemetery. Now, Harold, the guy who was supposed to be at the wagon ready for Powell, as soon as he heard Powell shouting, "I'm mad," he takes off. He's gone. Now, we don't know if Harold thought maybe he got captured or something might have happened to us, but either way, he was gone as soon as he heard Powell yelling. All right. He made his way to the Navy Yard Bridge, and there he saw Booth. And Booth, remember, his shin bone is busted. Remember when he jumped off the balcony, he landed on the stage, he landed awkwardly because his spur got caught in the flag, shattered that shin bone, and he was hobbling off. Well, riding his horse from Ford's Theater to the Navy Yard Bridge really did some even worse damage to his leg. And they were like, okay, we need to go to Dr. Mudd's house. And that picture right there, that is Dr. Mudd right there. All right, so now we're going to come to another conspirator, the Vice President Andrew Johnson. He was at the Kirkwood House in Washington. Okay, so around 10 o'clock, George Azeroth's like, okay, I'm gonna get this guy. I'm gonna get him. I'm gonna kill him. All right. Okay. Okay, so Johnson's, probably asleep right now, so, or he's getting ready to go sleep, so, you know what? I got the jitters. I got the jitters. It's like, okay, I'm gonna get some liquid courage. So he goes to the bar. He takes a drink. Okay. Ooh, my nerves are still shaking. Okay, I'm gonna take another drink. Takes another drink. Okay. Still got the nerves. Still got the nerves. Takes another drink. All right. Okay, I'm feeling good. I'm feeling good. All right. Yeah, those are some good drinks. Think of one more. Takes another one. All right, Johnson's probably almost sleeping now. You know what? One more drink before I do this. One more. Takes another drink. The man keeps drinking and drinking and drinking to the point where he gets drunk, forgets why he's there, and basically wanders the streets of Washington aimlessly. He's going left, right, falling down, getting up. Guys, I wish I was making this up, but yes, George Azeroth got so stinking drunk, he forgot why he was there. He wandered the streets throughout the night and was just, woke up from a hangover and like, oh, what happened, And then word comes that, hey, Lincoln was assassinated and security's built up on Johnson, Seward. Seward was attacked. Security's now all around him, Grant, things like that. So he's like, oh, geez. So he takes off. The security went to each room and looking for people, any information, things like that. They searched people's places. So when they came to Azeroth's room, right, they're like, okay, this guy never slept here. Why would somebody check a room in a hotel and not stay at all? So they looked around this place, and then they found a loaded revolver, and in between the sheets and mattress, they found a Bowie knife. That was what he was supposed to use to kill Johnson. And if Johnson somehow resisted and fought back, use the gun. So he was arrested on April 20th at his cousin's house. Okay. So again, guys, this is one of those things in history where it's like, that can't be real. And it is. It really is. So here's my next question to you. Do you think if George Azeroth hadn't gotten too drunk, let's say he got enough drinks to calm his nerves and things like that, do you think he would actually have killed Vice President Johnson? What do you think? Do you think he actually would have gone through with it? Or do you think he would have been like, no. Now, I did have a student in class earlier ask me, Miss Martinez, last time you were telling us what each of these guys did. What did George Azeroth do? Remember, he was a smuggler. He was a very good smuggler, excellent smuggler, who could take things from across from the Union side to the Confederate on land and on the water. Okay, so he was very good. Did he ever kill anybody? No. No, he did not. So that kind of helped her answer that question because she already had some things in her mind. Maybe it might be one of those plaguing questions you were thinking about, so maybe that might help you. So do you think if he would have not gotten that drunk, do you think he would have went on with it? Or do you think he would have been like, no? And why do you think that? Okay, so pause the video, write your response because we're moving on in 3, 2, 1. All right, so now we come to Michael Laughlin. Now, this guy, he was in charge of killing Grant. Okay, now the problem with him is he was looking at Grant, and he's like, all right, I'm gonna get this guy. I'm gonna kill this guy. Okay, I can't kill him right now because there's a lot of people. All right, so he's like keeping his eye on him. All right, and he's just waiting. He's waiting. He's like, all right, okay, less people. Okay, all right, okay, I'm gonna get him. I'm gonna get him. Yeah, I can't do that right now. Yeah, I can't. No, I'm not. I'm not ready. Should I stab him? Should I shoot him? Okay, what should I do? What should I do? And he is wasting a lot of time. He's basically just saying he was looking for the perfect moment to kill Grant, and it just never came. A lot of historians believe he got cold feet. he was basically saying that, oh, there was no perfect moment, and they're like, well, no, you could have killed him, you could have killed him, but you just chickened out. All right. So what happened was when word came that Lincoln was assassinated, Seward was there was an assassination attempt on Seward, um, and that they were looking at Johnson and Grant. They actually took Michael Laughlin in for suspicion because again they were like, dude, he was looking at you all night, and he kind of had that weird like vibe, that kind of like he wanted to do something, but he kept going back and forth type of thing, you know. So they detain him as a suspect, and later on when they're getting the evidence together, like where these guys met, things like that, you know, how there was connected to these people, um, it was realized then that he was part of the conspiracy group, and that's when they arrested him. Now, if you remember from the last lesson, I told you how uh, Booth got this kid to hold his horse at the back of the theater for him. That kid's name was Edmond Spangler. Now, Spangler was not part of the conspiracy group, but because he did help out Booth, he was later considered part of the conspiracy. All right. It's not fair for him, but um, thing is, he did help out Booth, and again, he didn't know what he was doing, but yeah, okay. So what happened was once they got Booth got to the Navy Yard Bridge, he met Harold. They went to Dr. Mudd's house. Dr. Mudd helped out Booth, helping his leg as much as he could, and then from there they were like, okay, we need to get out of here. And Mudd's like, you gotta go to Virginia. You can't stay here in D.C. In Maryland. So they go off and they go several places. Samuel Cox's house. They stay hidden in the woods. Now, the thing is, the forest area, muddy area, the marshland of Maryland slash Virginia, it's easy to kind of lose people in that because, again, it's mud. It's hard to get through with horses and things like that, you know. Um, so Booth is there in the woods with Harold, all right? And before they go try to get to Virginia, um, Booth tells Harold, hey, no one knows who you are. No one knows what your role was in this whole thing. So no one's looking for you. I want you to go into town and I want you to find out what's going on. I want you to get a couple newspapers, bring them to me. I want to see how the South sees me. Because remember, I killed Lincoln and I did this all for them. So Harold goes into town, gets some stuff with the newspapers, and he comes back to Booth. All right, so he has the newspapers with him. So here's my question to you. Do you think the Southern newspapers are going to say Booth is a hero or a villain? Okay, and why do you believe this? Okay, now remember, the Civil War is still going on. The um, amendment to get rid of slavery had just passed. Some Southerners wanted to join the Union to basically stop the amendment from being ratified, which would make it official, like law of the land official. Some of them wanted, like, okay, let's stop this war so we can get back into Congress and stop that bill from happening, you know. And Lincoln did mention too about uh, how some African Americans should have the right to vote, the educated and the veterans, the people who fought in the war. Okay, so knowing all of that stuff, do you think the Southern newspapers consider Booth a hero or a villain? All right, and then why do you believe this? The writing prompts on the bottom to help you out if you don't know how to start it. I believe the Southern newspaper will consider Booth a hero or villain, whichever you choose, because and explain. Okay. So write your response, okay? Because we're moving on in 3, 2, 1. I hope you wrote your response. Because here's the thing. He was not praised a hero. Booth was not praised a hero. He was actually seen and condemned as a coward. And this just made Booth just like go, what? What? Wait. What in the world are they talking about? I did them a favor. I did what no Southern person would even dare try to attempt. I gave them a second breath. I got rid of Lincoln. I set this whole thing up so that they could rally and fight back. And they're calling me a coward? Yeah, because the Southern newspaper basically said, okay, for one, Lincoln was defenseless. He had no weapon. Two, he was at a play with his wife, with some of their friends, Major Rathbone and Clara Harris. He shot him in the back. That's another big one. He shot an unarmed man in the back in front of his wife while the man's relaxing, and the guy has no way to defend himself. So yes, they saw him as a coward, and this set Booth off so bad. He was just furious. Furious. And now he basically has a whole nation looking for him. So he was trying to get to Virginia. They took a wrong path. They took a wrong way, and they ended up back in Maryland. And then when they realized, like, oh, dang it, we're not in Virginia, we're still in Maryland, they had to get back on the boat, come around, and get them back to Virginia. And on the morning of April 26th, Booth is basically cornered. The Union troops have been hunting him since the very beginning, and they're excellent trackers. They were able to track him all the way from Ford's Theater to the Garrett's farm. Now, the Garrett farm has a little storage area, at their farm, and Booth and Harold are in there. And what happened is they basically told them, hey guys, we got you surrounded, come on out. It's over. Harold and Booth doesn't come out. So what they then do is set fire to it. Right? Smoke is coming in, things like that. Harold busts through the doors and he surrenders. I can't breathe, I surrender, you guys got us. Booth is not going down that quietly. He's there. He's like, come on, try to get me. You'll never get me, this and that. The thing is, while the barn, storage area is on fire, Booth is facing this way. Behind him, there's a piece of wood that's already kind of distorted and it's already rotten and burned. So there's a little hole where Thomas H. Corbett is able to get his gun, put it through, aim at Booth, and shoots him. And when he shoots him, it hits him right in the neck, and Booth just falls. I mean, just like a Jenga thing when the last thing topples over, just like that, just falls to the ground. Here's the thing: Booth is not dead. Booth is still alive. He's just paralyzed. That bullet hit his spinal cord, which severed the nerves and made him paralyzed. So when they saw, hey, he's down, so they went in, they got him, they dragged him out of the burning barn, and they're like looking like, oh, dang, that's a bad shot to the neck. Go get a doctor. Again, remember, they're in the Virginia woods area. Doctor might be in the town, 2 towns over. Okay, he's going to be lived alive for just about 3 hours. Not enough time for them to go get a doctor and come back. While they're waiting, the soldiers are there with Booth and things like that with Harold. And Booth has a request for the soldiers. He tells them, show me my hands. And they're like, okay. Because remember, he's paralyzed from the basically the neck down. So they pick up his hands and he's looking at them. He just looks at his hands and he goes, useless, useless. And then a little bit later, he dies. They check his pulse. Booth is dead. And that's the end of John Wilkes Booth. So here's your next question. Why do you think Booth's last words were useless? Useless. What are some possible meanings to that? Was he literally talking about his hands saying, oh, they're useless, they're useless? Or is there another meaning? Okay, I think about what he was wanting to do with his life and his plan and things like that. And again, the newspaper, he already knows that the only person who died was Lincoln. Everyone else survived. You know. So what do you think? Do you think that he was literally talking about his hands, them being useless, being paralyzed, stuff like that? Or do you think there was a deeper meaning? And tell me about that. Okay? So pause the video, write your response, because we're moving on in 3, 2, 1. All right, so here we come to the exit ticket. Again, make sure you pick one question. And again, guys, I've been reading some of your guys' response. You guys really need to, not all you guys, but just some of you guys really need to write it more completely. Don't just put like, yes, because it was good. What do you mean it was good? How do you mean that? Actually explain, okay, guys, because some of you guys are not going to be passing if your responses are like that, very vague, not even addressing what the question's asking you. You might think it is, but it's not, because you could take that statement and put it anywhere. Okay, you guys really need to really give it a good response. So, the first question asks you, do you think if Booth was taken alive that someone would have tried to kill him before his trial? Because this is what happened with John F. Kennedy's assassin, Lee Harvey Oswald. Before he could have a trial, somebody, like the guy by the name of Jack Ruby, shot and killed him before there was a trial. Do you think that would have happened to John Wilkes Booth before the trial could even start? Somebody would have shot him, taken revenge on him? All right. So what do you think? Yes, no, and why? The second question asks, if one of your family members had did something like what Booth did, kill a very famous, popular president, politician, celebrity, whatever, somebody that everyone tends to like, do you think your family would disown them like Booth's family did? Because again, they had a marker at a cemetery with all the names of all the whole family and stuff like that, and they basically like erased Booth off of it. Do you think your own family would do something like that to somebody in your family if they did kill somebody that like everyone loved? Whether it's a president, famous celebrity, things like that. What do you think? Do you think they would disown them? Yes, no, and explain why. So once you finish those, you are done for this lesson. Okay, guys. Hopefully you learned something new. Hopefully you enjoyed it. Okay. The next lesson we're going to be talking about is the Reconstruction. So 13th Amendment passed, which frees African Americans. Awesome. Now it comes to the point, it's like, okay, you're free. Now what? What do you do? Where do you live? You can't live on the property anymore. Those, once slave owners, they don't want them staying at their place. They're like, no, get out of here. You're free, so you go away. Where are they going to stay? What are they going to do about food? How are they going to get work? A lot of them are uneducated. So what are they going to do with the rest of their life? This is the problem that happened. And you're going to see, this is the Reconstruction era. This is where you're going to see how we basically pick up the pieces after the war. And how do you help a group of people who have basically been held back all their lives? How do you help them out? How do you make sure that future generations progress? That's what we're talking about next week. Okay, so again, enjoy yourself. You guys take care. You be safe, and I'll see you guys later. Okay.